Welcome Kerbal Nerds to another tutorial. This time it's going to be a tutorial on how to build a space station, how to get into orbit. This is going to be multiple episodes, so this first one's going to be about building the main core of the station, get it into a nice high orbit, and then we can work out the rest from that. Also, we'll be able to show you how to build a launcher, a large launcher to get up into orbit, so you can use this then repeatedly to get other parts of the station up with little modification, and how to use sub-assemblies. Anyway, all that and more coming in this tutorial. So enjoy the show and get building. Okay, so now we're in the VAB. First off, we have to build something that we have to get up into orbit. Okay, this is my plan. Every space station needs something to look out of, so let's pick the Kerbal modular as the main spacecraft part. And we need somewhere for the Kerbals to live, not just look out. So go to the utility tab, next page, and you'll find this hitchhiker's storage container. That allows you to put 3 Kerbals in there, and I can't remember how many on the Kerbal module. Crew capacity 1. So yes, we can have a total of 4 Kerbals on here. Alright. Now, how do you build a space station? Well, you need multiple connections on a space station. Some way of connecting them all together and building a big structure without having to launch it all up in one go. And you get a nice little handy Max Hub, Rocco Max Hub Max multi-point connector. Now use that. That doesn't look right connected onto there. So what I suggest you do is go to the Rocco Max brand adapter, put that on there. Make sure it goes green when you connect them up. There you go. And there you have it. That looks a bit better. Now we want to decide what we're going to put on there. Now I want to put sort of like a science module, a power module, an escape craft perhaps, and perhaps a little robotic craft or something on there. But let's start off with how we're going to attach them. Well, I've decided, yes, plan ahead on this. This is the best way to do it. Just put these adapters, large adapters on these sides. Now if you go to utility, you have here your docking ports. And I want to put some large ones on the side. Hence why I put the large adapters on the side. Okay, that's the side done. Now for these sides, the other 2 sides, front and back, or whichever way you want to call them, let's put some clampertrons on there. Was it? Yeah, the clapotrons. To fit these parts properly, if you find that the parts are not fitting on properly, hold down the Alt key and it should make it easier to attach them. But with the docking ports, it seems that you have to use the WASD keys to rotate them to the right angles that you require them. And if you see you can't get them on properly, hold down the Alt key, hover over the part you want to connect it to, and it should fit there nicely. Let's do that same on this side. There you go. And I'll stick a little Clampotron docking port junior on the bottom here. And the idea of that is we can perhaps put a little robotic craft there which you can dock on there, and as a larger docking port on the other side. We use RCS fuel for it to go round, and perhaps if we have a module come up to the station, we can use that then to dock it on, or we could swap modules around like the International Space Station have done. Okay, I'm going to say that's our first module. All we need to do is add some utility things onto it. First off, because we haven't got any power modules up there yet, let's put some solar panels on there. Put symmetry to 4. That should keep that powered up for our Kerbals. Keep the air flowing. And, oh yes, we need some storage for that power. Let's put some batteries. And also we need some way to control it if this goes tumbling through space, because there's no rockets on it to keep it controlled. and say if we run out of power, or, well, I don't know, if we run out of power we can't control it at all. But let's put something on there much better than just the control wheels. You can have a little more control over it. So go to fuel tanks, go to the second page and look for the monopropellant tanks. Let's use, these seem to be too big for it, so use these small round tanks, and they seem to be sticking out on the side. What I suggest is perhaps take them out the way. That's nice and neat. In fact, let's do the same with the batteries. Put them in a bit. That looks nice and neat. Nothing sticking out to the side there that can accidentally be knocked. Okay, now for command and control tab, and you can get your RCS thruster block. Now hit center mass, so we know where the center mass is. Let's zoom in a bit, and what you want to do is get these as close to the center of mass as possible. Again, let's put 4 on here. Put it on like so. Let's take that off, and that should give you control of this module alone, just in case you need to get this stop from spinning, or perhaps you have to move this towards the other module to dock it to that. They will give you control, and if you got it to the center of mass, as I said, it'll be perfectly easy to maneuver around. Okay, so now we have the module we want to get up into space. Let's build a launcher. Now there's something handy here. If you build a launcher and you want to reuse it, you have this thing called sub-assemblies. Just click on this arrow here, go to sub-assemblies, and you can save your sub-assemblies. I built a medium lifter. This is what I was originally planning on launching this with. I'll show you how to build this in a moment, and how to use sub-assemblies to save it. But first off, what we have to do is get this up into orbit, and we don't want the spacecraft to stay with it, we want to return it. And I don't want to use Kerbals to do it. So what we can do, if we go to pods, get the remote guidance unit. This one's a bit small, we want a big rocket for this. Just stick that out. Ooh, first off, we need a decoupler. So get a stacked decoupler. I can't use a big one on there, so I'll use the smallish one, the TR18A stacked decoupler. Bit the probe core there then, and let's make sure it stays together. That little port will be a bit too wobbly, so if we get the struts bit 4 on there as such, that should secure it. Don't worry, these struts will, once this is decoupled, these struts will disappear. All you have are the little connectors. Lovely little tool struts are. Okay, next we need a rocket. We need something to control this. So get this into position. Now, because I'm going to use this rocket for doing multiple launches or launching different modules up to the space station, I'm going to use the same one for all of them. So let's build it. Fuel tanks. Now we need a large fuel tank. I suggest using the Rockomax X216 fuel tank. Plonk it on there. An engine now. The Poodle will do for us. That's sort of the lightweight of the larger rockets. We don't need so much thrust once we're up in orbit, because let's face it, you don't need much at all when you're up there. It's just getting up into space. Okay, now we need some kind of control. Again, this is a remote guidance unit, and this needs power to operate. So let's go to utilities, again get some panels, this time bit 4 on there, but at the angle there. And batteries. I think we can hide the batteries away. Like so. If you can hide anything away, that's brilliant. Solar panels, we have to be on the outside so it hits, the sun can hit it. Next. Yes, we do need control. Because this is going to be guiding all the other parts up there, we need some RCS control. So again, fuel tanks, we need RCS fuel tanks. Can we hide these up here? I don't like it like that. I like symmetry. Oh, by the way, little nice tip, if you want to make things look nice, you want to rotate these parts to a nice angle, hold down shift while you've got the part selected, and use the WASD keys, the WASD keys, and you can rotate them in different ways, up, down, left, right, and any way you want, until you get something you like. I hope that is going to be fine. Let's check center of mass, center of thrust. It all looks perfectly balanced. That's good. Always make sure it's balanced. Next is go to command and control again, get the RCS thrusters. Center of weight is here. Now we got RCS thrusters on here which will work the same time that these RCS thrusters are working. Best way is normally put them the same distance from the center of mass all the way down and up. We can't do that because that brings us down here. So we'll do the next best thing, put them center of this rocket so we have virtually center of mass of this control. Now it's not going to be perfect, but this is at the moment it's just launching this up into orbit, and we can sort the other things out later. We can fiddle around with this without our heart's content when we want to. Right, next thing, we've got our control unit. We need a decoupler. And we need a fairing because the new aerodynamics will cause trouble for us. So let's go to aerodynamics. We need a 2.5 meter fairing for this. Now let's bring that out a bit. You can shape this any way you want, just make sure it doesn't clip any parts. And that's going to be my fairing. I know it's ugly, but it's going to do the job. Now for the main boosting part. So fuel tanks, get the Rockomax X200 32 fuel tanks, and you need about 3 of these. And an engine. Right, let's get the biggest, baddest one for this rocket we can get. That's the mainsail. It's got the highest thrust for this sized rocket part, and I think, has it got thrust vectoring? Yes, it's got a 2-degree thrust vectoring, so it'll also keep control of your rocket as well. Don't need center of mass on. Right, now we need some booster rockets. That's not going to, that'll get us into orbit perhaps, but it means that we won't be able to do anything else. So let's get some booster rockets on here. Go to structural, get the radial decouplers. Now set symmetry to 2. This is very important. We're going to set up what's called, I can get my words out, asparagus staging, which means dropping rockets at different intervals. So place them on there. Now let's get some fuel tanks. What's this? The FLT 800 fuel tank. Make sure it's placed there. Yeah. Now you want to place a fuel tank under there. If you have trouble, you can't place it again, press Alt, and you should hopefully snap straight to that. Now some rocket engines for that. I suggest using the LVT-30 Reliant engines. Put them under there, as such. Now those are going to wobble about a bit, so let's do some structural engineering. Go structural, get some more strut connectors, or space tape as it's most commonly known as. Now this is the point where it's best to zoom in, try and get your angle. You need one at the top, straight to the rocket. I like to keep them as small as possible, that way they're not intrusion or anything, they don't look ugly, they look efficient. Okay, those are the rockets done. Now what I want you to do is hold down Alt, hover over the decoupler, click left mouse button, and you've copied it. So bring that around here at a 90-degree angle to all the others. So you have one at every 90 degree. And this comes the magic part now. We want a fuel duct. So go to fuel tanks, go to your external fuel duct, and what I want you to do is click on one of the tanks to the next tank next to it, and it should happen on both sides because of 2x symmetry. And what's that going to do? That is going to use the fuel in these engines, in these fuel tanks first, through all the engines. Once these are empty, we can jettison them, and that means this tank has full fuel because it's being fed from that tank to this tank. And if we do the same again, but this time on that fuel tank to the middle fuel tank. So once these fuel tanks are empty, the center fuel tanks will be full once these are jettisoned. So we have a lot more going up in space. Now that is what's called asparagus staging. It's most efficient. I don't think any space agency on Earth has done it yet. It's limited to Kerbal Space Program. But it's brilliant. Okay, one thing you have to do though first is staging. Okay, hover over the engines you want to decouple first. Create a stage under there. Make sure they come into order. Yep, they will decouple first. Then these will decouple, leaving our center tank full of fuel. And we seem to have a mistake here. Okay, this has to go down here. We want this to come off when we're out into space, which is about right. Then once we're in space, when we need to get into orbit, this will decouple. This will get us into orbit, get us to the height that we want, which I'm going to say is 200 kilometers. Nice round number. It leaves a nice little space that we can go under the space station to catch up to it with our rendezvous, and I'll show you that as we get to that. Okay, I'll decouple. That engine will fire, get us into orbit. We'll get onto our orbit. We'll decouple the space station then, leave it in orbit, and return this to Kirby. Okay, this is all set up. One or two things. Aerodynamics. Nose cones on these to make sure we keep with the aerodynamics, and we need some AVR8 winglets. Any winglets will do, but I like these ones. I don't know why, I like the shape of them. Symmetry to 4. Place them up by here, not too low, because I want to add structural launch clamps down here. These will help us keep control as we're going through the atmosphere. Now I said I'll show you how to do sub-assemblies. So open that up, open up sub-assemblies. Now we want this entire launcher stage, so we'll grab that. I think I'll grab the decoupler as well. Can alter it when we go along. Go to sub-assembly zone, click in there, and we'll call this medium launcher, and I'll put in here for space station. And you do these as many times as you want. Say how you build a better one, you can use that. Okay, let's stick that back on there. Okay, this is ready to go. I will see you on the launch pad. We'll get this into a 200-kilometer orbit. I'll call this Station Module 1. We'll say that if we're going to spell station correctly, save that, and I'll see you on the launch pad, and we'll launch this into space. Right then, here we are on the launch pad with this monstrosity. Well, actually, it's not that much of a monstrosity, is it? It's not. I've seen bigger rockets than this launch up into space, but this is one of the biggest ones I've done so far in version 1.0. Anyway, we've built the space station core. We've got it in that fairing there. The SAS is engaged now, ready for launch. We've got Bill Kerman in the cockpit. Please note that I'm playing this game in sandbox mode. That gives you the ability to use all the parts and lets you use them at your heart's content. Right, thrust is now at full. We're raring to go. So all we need is a countdown. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch, and off we go. Now we're aiming for a 200-kilometer orbit. Doesn't have to be perfect. Let's pitch over slightly. Now keep an eye on the fuel gauges in the bottom left. Once the ones that are going down faster, once we've got empty ones, we need to stage due to the asparagus staging. Okay, stage. Now what that's done is reduce the weight of the rocket. So thrust to weight ratio has gone, well, it hasn't gone up, but our weight has gone down, which means we can have more delta V for the fuel we have. Okay, keep on turning over slowly to the east. Sorry, yeah, east we're going. Okay, they're done out, so stage them rockets. Okay, the asparagus staging is done, but if you note on the fuel gauge on the left, we've still got a full fuel tank because all the fuel is being fed into that middle tank. That's brilliant because it gives us enough fuel to get us into orbit, or at least into space, and then we can use the other rocket then to get in orbit. Okay, so where are we at with this? Using the mod, we've got an apoapsis height of 18 kilometers. Oh yes, I did note that I wasn't sure what the terminal speed in this game was. But since we're up through the thickest part of the atmosphere, we can go full thrust. Because there's a theory saying that you have to stay at terminal velocity while going up to get the most efficient launch. Right, we'll keep an eye on this now in map mode. Wait until we get this up to, I don't know, 200 kilometers, so a little fast forward in the video here. So you don't have to watch its entire thing going through. Okay, so the fuel has run out. So let's stage. I'll release the fairing first, then stage. Engage the rocket, go back to map view. Keep an eye on the apoapsis. And thrust up. We want to get to 200 kilometers. And that is good enough. Now all we have to do is create a maneuver node. If you've seen the orbit tutorial, this is easy enough. Just create your maneuver node and adjust it to what you require. Okay, once they've gone 90 degrees from that, or on that orbit, that means we're near circular. There's a nice little handy thing. If you hover over these thrust vectorings on the maneuver node, you can use the mouse wheel and adjust them. Using the mouse wheel, it gives you that extra fine control. You can do it for all of them. They're on the retrograde as well, and on the prograde, and all the others: normal, anti-normal, and radial, anti-radial. So a little handy tip there. Okay, so now we have to go and circularize our orbit. Right, Bill, it's time for you to do steering. Click on the maneuver node on that SAS gimmick. That will line you up with the maneuver node. Let's engage the SAS. Press the R key to engage the SAS, and it switches the SAS on, allowing him to maneuver to it. But once you get to your point where you want to turn the RCS off, because it'll save on your monopropellant, which is here. You're not always constantly using it, if for some reason the rocket has to. Okay, now we can use this as well. Left click on here, warp to maneuver node. That'll reduce the time you have to wait, and you don't have to accidentally time warp past your maneuver node. Okay, so the time is 46 seconds for burn, so we're going to burn 23 seconds before and 23 seconds after the burn for our optimal burn time. Okay, here we go. Everything is looking good. Okay, the idea of going to a 200-kilometer orbit is so anything we have to dock to the space station, we can launch up to a 100-kilometer orbit, lower orbit. That means that will be traveling faster than us. We can then use time warp to get closer and then use maneuver nodes to get our rendezvous with the space station. All pretty easy, and we'll hopefully be using the same rocket as we used to get this core station in orbit. Okay, now we're close, so slow down burn, little tweaks now. Okay, that's close enough. What's our orbit? 202 by 196 kilometers. That's a near perfect little orbit. So now we can stage that. We'll come back to that other rocket in a minute because otherwise it's going to be in the way. Let's align this up north like that and go into IVA mode for Bill, and look at this lovely view. In fact, let's reorientate the spacecraft so it has a full view of Kerbal. Now, as you rotate around Kerbal, this view won't stay in the view of the Kerbal module. I know on the International Space Station it does, but that's because they rotate the International Space Station. But there's no way of doing this in this game because you'll keep on. Because it's not supported. I'm not sure if there's a mod for it. But anyway, I press C to come out of that, and to switch between spacecraft, use the closed captions, the square-like ones. I'll put it up on the video, hopefully to show you, and then go to the Space Corps. Now click on the retrograde on the SAS to engage it that way. Now, one thing to note here, make sure the rocket nozzle is not pointing at the space station, because if it is, if you're too close, you'll cause either damage or you'll cause the space station to career out of control. Let's thrust anyway to go return back to Kerbal. What I'm planning for this is to drop down into the atmosphere and burn up. So there's no longer any space junk up here. Always keep your orbit clean. We don't want to bump into it when we bringing things up to the station. Anyway, that's part 1 of the tutorial. If you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up or comment if you think I could add something to it. And anyway, here's a fast forward of the destruction of the probe. And in the next tutorial we'll be sending up other modules and showing you how to rendezvous and dock and continue it. Oh yeah, by the way, press 11 shows you the heat overlay of the spacecraft as it comes down and heats up. Anyway, I'll leave you with this. I'm Orbator. Trust me, I'm an engineer.